Welcome to another installment of Podcasters Row. King of Podcasts here with you. Thank you again for joining me here on the channel. And subscribe to the shows you always do. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and among other places. Let's get right to my guest. She is a media personality, geopolitical strategist, and TV host, CEO of the Omnia Institute and on the board of EIUCCI, former Miss India International, a much sought-after podcaster and radio and TV commentator, works in 4 continents in Bollywood, Hollywood, also currently developing a show for Hollywood studios. She is the host of the Preity Experience, which offers engaging conversations with global thought leaders in the areas of business, politics, culture, and sport. I'm here with Preity Upala. Thank you for being on with us.
Namaste, Jorge. It is a pleasure to be on your show, and namaste to your wonderful audience.
Thank you, namaste as well. What a wonderful story that you have, which I know you've been on quite a number of podcasts as well to tell your story. But when it comes to it, you know, being able to go ahead and give whatever message that you have across various cultural boundaries, being able to go ahead and be sought after and noticed and recognized, you know, for various issues when it comes to also acting. Whenever we talk about your acting career that you've also had as well, and work in modeling and in pageantry and working your way into finance and being a sought-after speaker, motivator, areas also when it comes to foreign policy, international relations, soft power, diplomacy, purpose and motivation. So a jack of all trades. It's a lot for you to go and put out there, but talk to me about what it means to go ahead and put a message out there and taking what you picked from your experience to put into a podcast. What was the onus for making that happen?
Well, it's interesting because right now, I think in the world today, what we really need as a humanity is people realizing how alike they are, how similar they are and not different. We need love, we need light, we need respect. We need more humaneness, I think, and civility and respect, which I don't find a lot out there on social media or really on TV or in the mainstream media even. So my message really is, I think it's twofold. One is, you know, we are a global village. We are all global citizens. We all have a we're all stakeholders for our planet, and we really should, I think, treat ourselves better, each other better, and also nature and the planet and all the beings that live in it. I think we can do better as a society. I think there's been so much room for hate, but not enough love. So I think I do my small bit by trying to connect over cultures, over faiths. You know, I really see myself as an ambassador from East to the West. I see myself as a dharmic ambassador of everything that is, let's say I come from India, so I'm very, you know, I feel like the Indian spirituality and philosophy is more relevant today than it has ever been, especially in these areas of peace and diplomacy, nonviolence, and the great legacy that it has. And the other point is, I think, just to find out your purpose. So I'm big on that. I'm big on your dharma in life. So finding out why you're here in the world, who you're meant to be, your purpose, then fulfilling it and serving, you know, sharing your gifts with the world. So I think that's really my message to anyone who's listening. And sometimes I need to speak this message out to myself because we all need reminding, you know. So it's been quite a journey.
Preity, I mean, I would imagine that in your career, first of all, if anybody looks at you, they wouldn't have imagined that you've gone through all the experience and have done so much in your life in such a short amount of time. But it's also trying to stay grounded and trying to stay close to yourself because of the pressures of people in power, what social media causes for people to go ahead and be manipulated. And really, it's a matter of, you know, we both remember a time before social media was existing that we didn't really worry about what other people around the world, what they were doing, what they were thinking, what they were buying, what they were, you know, how they were, you know, enjoying adventure or happiness. You know, there is room for people like yourself to put a message of hope, inspiration, a very spiritual message, I would think, as well. But that also, you need to go and cut through the line of all this, indulgence and frivolity and just it's always about like who has better, who is doing better than I am. And for some people that go on there, they don't have the emotional capacity to go and handle seeing what other people are doing better than them and realizing that everything's not so bad where they are right now. Plus everything else, when you talk about what we can talk about, how we can, bridge cultural gaps, have peace and harmony with each other. There is so much division being created through social media, being so much division from what the internet can provide, because there are outliers that are looking to go and do that. That's their purpose in life. That's why we see a lot of things in the world today in various countries, and even just in America, where division is so rampant, and we can't have a time where we used to be able to talk about anything and everything and agree to disagree. And I'm, a proponent of, it wasn't Voltaire, but it was one of the people that wrote for him that says, I can disagree with what you say, but I will fight for the right for you to say it. And I totally believe that wholeheartedly. I like to live that as my purpose, especially with a program like this. So talk to me about that. The fact is, in your show, you have so many different areas in the Preity experience where politics, I can imagine, that's a lightning rod. And radio, they used to have a thing where when I worked at terrestrial radio, there's certain things you don't talk about. Religion and abortion. You just don't talk about that. I think politics now can almost be put in the same game, because either you're going to be in politics, or if you even decide to go and just touch upon it, it's going to just be a lightning rod. It's going to cause controversy. And people are going to be tribalistic and say, well, what do you mean? Which side are you on?
Yeah, it's interesting because today I don't think you can divorce politics from anything,
No.
whether it's culture or even, even the spiritual sort of realm. Sports, I think sports has become incredibly political.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, politics itself, and the world is going through this election phase. I think more people are going to be voting this year than ever before in history, or like literally billions of people,
Mm-hmm.
and the outcome of which will affect all of us. All the elections in the various countries affect each other. So we are also not immune to decisions that other people make. I think whether you share a border or not, it doesn't matter. The foreign policy definitely travels through. But I think it's important to never lose sight of who we really are, and how we're supposed to overcome this. Religion and politics are things that people used to shun away. Now I think they're the two things that people most talk about on podcasts and radio and even TV. And there's a way to have a dialogue. I think I try to have it with all my engagements with the media, where you try to elevate the discourse, and it's not about the hate or the division or bigotry or the sort of otherness. It's really about, deeper things and problems that we as a humanity face globally. And we've seen, whether it's poverty, homelessness, violence, sexual abuse, even things like, you want to talk about illegal migration, the economic issues, inflation, recession. The whole world is suffering. COVID, of course, in that way as well, it didn't discriminate. So we're realizing that we're not that immortal, and none of us is immune to all of this. I think we're all suffering on some level, and we have, need to start seeing ourselves as really global citizens of a global village. I know there's a lot of criticism about the word globalization. When I use that word, I don't mean in terms of the way that governments use it. I mean in a more humane level. We are all connected. That's the way I mean. I'm definitely against globalization from a geopolitical perspective, which
Right.
is where you don't want to be dependent on the supply chains that exist and be so dependent on one origin or one source, because if that goes down, so goes all your options and your own security. And I think that's not the way, how deeply entrenched the world is, whether it's economic or manufacturing or global supply chains,
Right.
is quite dangerous. And I don't know if we'll miss the bus or not, but it's there's little that can be done. I mean, obviously, better late than never, but I think people need to start really thinking about those things.
You not only do the podcast, but you do quite a bit of writing as well. And I noticed from some of the writings you've done as of late, you talk about various areas, and I love some of the opinions that you have. Again, just based in where it's not this. And I'm not here to go ahead and dismiss anything. I try to keep this show apolitical and all my content apolitical, only because I know that where it goes with that and where we are. But in just some of the areas that you decide to talk about, I love that you'll go ahead and go there with some of these conversations. When you have talked recently about dharmic feminism, the kind of female empowerment the world needs, you wrote a story about this, and you talk about that, the time of equality, specifically gender parity and women's rights, but we're starting to go and lose that story because now we have gender that's trying to be, clouded. We can't even put proper definitions to it because some other people decided we're going to just start changing what has been with us for, centuries upon centuries. And we're just going to go ahead and just throw, for the purpose of just disruption, we're just going to disrupt the whole idea of gender parity and women and feminism as it was. What we know, first of all, feminism for, all the years before now, there was always an equality that men always need to go and respect, revere, and admire, and really almost like to a point of worship for the women that we have in our lives. So we love women. We want, I don't like the fact of where, the feminist movement in the last 50 years, which was obviously was the right understanding where, there doesn't have to be a domestication of women. Women are allowed to be able to do whatever they want. But also, again, it doesn't have to be encouraged that, abandon the family structure, abandon having children, abandon the life of, love and happiness for a career when you could also have both. But it's just a matter of where you bring up the point of the pursuit of equality of outcome. You talk about that we are finding a reversal of the gender balance where the women are becoming harder, the men softer, and almost ashamed of their masculine power. That's so strong right there. And leaving women yearning for the divine masculine, which they feel they now have to generate within themselves, is due to the absence of real masculinity in men around them. And when the woman is forced to be the man, she's unable to be her true feminine self. And I couldn't agree with you more. It's traditional. But what's wrong with traditional now? Why is it we're at the point now that when you hear from your guests and when you talk about it on your show and all your content, what are you seeing about that?
Yeah, this is a great, it's a hot topic. It's a hot potato of a topic, and people are not able to figure out how to have a nuanced, respectful conversation about it without sounding offensive and, stepping on each other's toes. But I think the attempt should be made. I was interviewed by a religious news service, which is, I think, the largest religious publication in the world. It's very prestigious. And
Right.
They interviewed me on this issue. And then when I read the article, I realized that the article was actually on me and my views rather than just using what I said as a soundbite. Like I was the story.
Right.
And I'm very honored. It was, I've been written about many times. I've been interviewed many times. But I think I wasn't expecting that to be about me. And when I saw it, I'm like, this is incredible. And it sort of went viral. It kind of traveled globally, which was amazing. And the point, I made several points. One is, I think what's happening definitely in the West is this gender reversal is taking place where the woman is becoming this hard, she's trying to carry this masculine energy. She wants to be the man, act like the man, even look like the man. And the man, on the other hand, is now forced to just feel emasculated, almost ashamed of his inherent masculinity. And when a man does that, it's internal hate almost towards yourself, frustration, anger, which the worst manifestation of that would be something like sexual or domestic violence, terrorism, attacking other people because you feel like you're not in control of your own being,
Right.
of your manhood. So I see some of that. It's very You need to make sure that you honor the divine roles, the yin
Right.
yang, the beautiful balance. But the other point was here in the West, they're pushing for this equity and all that. I want to touch back to ancient wisdom and the ancient view on feminism, femininity, and sexuality, sensuality,
Right.
balance of the genders, and just this beautiful uh, uh, you know uh, I guess the dance between the sexes that used to take place for thousands of years. And so much of what is in ancient wisdom is relevant today, actually more relevant today than it ever was. And I touch on dharmic feminism, which is really dharmic philosophy is Hindu philosophy essentially, but also the philosophy that would run through Buddhism and Jainism. And when you look at these traditions, the woman is a goddess. She is revered. She's put up on a pedestal. We call it Shiva Shakti. It's the yin yang. They have a
Yeah.
perfect balance. They don't encroach on each other's space. You don't have to give one up to embody the other.
Right.
There is no competition. There's no fighting for rights. There is no concept of, uh, you know, I get this, you get that. No, it's like you work together, it's balanced, and you honor the other. And ultimately, you have to marry the two to
Right.
get the full experience of the manifestation of life. And Shakti it's both the divine feminine, but is also life force. And in many traditions, you'll see this, that feminine power is really the chi, the prana, the energy that makes a life, literally, when woman can give birth and create life, right? So we have to honor that divine feminine spirit, which is the Shakti. So I wanted to bring some of that into the West because I see a lot of confusion here with people trying to even speak about it and their understanding of what's going on. And I wanted to bring it up in a way which is not abrasive. And as a woman myself, I want to be treated as an equal. I want to be respected for the value that I bring to the world
Right.
and to my project and my work. So, because there's a lot of internal misogyny as well. We talk about toxic masculinity. There is also toxic femininity. There is some internal misogyny that you see in some groups today among women where they're all for, they'll say things like women shouldn't vote and
Right.
all that jazz. That just it defeats the purpose. And I wonder how they would feel if their rights are stripped away from them. I don't think they would do so well.
There
So
should be
I,
a point where, I mean, some of the ways that they might have been traditional before, that when men might have been way too, might have asserted authority or power too much. And there has to be an equal respect, and really it just shouldn't be anything else. I think when you also told in the story that you mentioned that where women in the West, they struggled to, when a woman in the West struggled to find their divine feminine essence, and then you see this essence effortlessly manifested within Indian women. Observe Indian woman, a woman from India. She wears proudly her femininity. Her real power is her vulnerability, beauty, softness, and sensuality. She knows that she does not need to give up who she is to be the person she wants to be. Secure in her power and does not need to feel to prove it or bring someone else down to validate her own self-worth. One of the examples I always think about when it comes to the pageants, I always look at Miss Universe, and I always look at the fact that, okay, where you see, again, Western countries and Western cultures versus the Eastern cultures, and just looking at where countries have a very traditional dynamic of family, of, where men and women stand in society, and you just see better harmony. I just think there was a reason why we have guys that will want to go ahead and fly to other countries to meet women, because they can't find the traditional, wonderful, beautiful woman that encompasses everything right there that she says. The power that women have in their vulnerability, beauty, softness, sensuality. Men want that. Women can give that here in America, but they've been programmed and disenfranchised that it's a detriment if they let themselves give their guard down. They think it is, but it's not that way. You can also see that society as a consumer, they don't want to listen to that either, where there's this other dynamic. Because look at all the movies being put out that are very progressive. And you know what? If they don't perform well, there's a reason why. In Bollywood, I've seen a number of the movies that come in. I watch a lot of them when they come in when they're new. And I'll tell you, I see traditional, like where women are held at the highest pedestal, men will look and admire and, again, appreciation to the highest degree. That's what you expect. In America, it's looked down upon. And I feel for everything that goes on, it's not even so much the men. The men need to go ahead and step up, and this allowing, and that's part of also the breaking down of the family structure, because that's obviously a real reason for all this to happen. But men, should be strong enough to be able to step themselves up and say, listen, we can't be putting this in this way. You need to go and look, there's brotherhood. There's other men like you that you can come together and realize there's a bond that you have. And then your masculinity comes from the bonds that you have with other men. With women, it's a matter of, if they can go ahead and take what you're saying right here, tap into the real power, then there'll be a lot more love and happiness in America. And obviously the way it is around the world that we never hear about.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned pageants, because you look at the top 3 countries or the top 5 countries that have won most of the beauty titles in the history of pageants. It's India, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Venezuela, Puerto Rico. It's all these beautiful Asian or
It's all
Latin.
traditional, but also it's also areas. So it's a lot of Latin America,
Yes.
all Latin America actually, the
All
Caribbean,
global South, yeah, Asia and
South
Latin America,
Asia,
Central
Southeast
America.
Asia, all of that.
Yeah.
And it's like Miss Universe always represents, like, look at all these beautiful people that represent,
Yes.
which by the way, it's not just all these people that are in the pageant as finalists. There are beautiful women in all these countries from all over Africa. I can't even not forget about Africa, the whole country.
Yes.
And they all understand this is just built into who human beings are. But in America, I don't know what's happened here, but we've been allowed to not have that kind of thought process. It's just changed. So unfortunately, that's where politics has played a role. And then we look at, in areas, what you're talking about, when it comes to culture, when it comes to sport, I mean, I can even imagine just in the idea of what beauty is now. First of all, the beauty industry also manipulated, also put through politics, multi-billion dollars, the kind of manipulation, the kind of, insecurity they put upon women all the time. And who's the next star that they're going to say is like the epitomizes what beauty is? They think it's Zendaya. Zendaya is now the it girl, right? And it's like, but nobody can be that size.
Yeah, no one. They've changed the script. The beauty industry and media, they actually have, and Hollywood too, they have a lot to blame, because it used to be the heroine chic, which was the epitome of beauty, and then before that, it might have been the Monica Bellucci, the voluptuous Italian
Right.
vampish, heroine, and then it changed suddenly. Then it became the blonde bimbo or the femme fatale, and now it's descended completely. And it's like, where is the beauty in this? What is beautiful? Are you saying it's all beautiful? I mean, yes, spiritually, yes, it's all beautiful. We're all one, but we're talking about celebrating what is spectacular and remarkable and extraordinary, right? You have to honor that. And I mean, there is a global feel to that as well. And if you don't honor that, what message are you giving to men? What message are you giving to women? And you're forcing people to say that this is beautiful, and that if you don't think it's beautiful, and if you don't want to get involved with this, there is something wrong with you, and you're a bad person. And that actually pushes both men and women into a corner. And the worst manifestation of all of this is that I think, and what I really fear is men, they've been pushed into a corner a little bit, young boys and young men, with all of this. What you don't want to see is them going the other direction, where they're saying that they don't want to deal with women at all. There's this trend of the passport bros, I'm sure you've heard, where
Absolutely.
American men, thinking that traveling to the other side of the world, they're going to find their soulmate. That's not how love works. You know that they will
Right.
go there, and what they will find will be a different version of other issues and other problems. I think, they sort of fail to forget that. But the crux is they can't find what they're looking for, that sensuality, softness, vulnerability, femininity. They can't find it here. They're literally going to the other side of the world to find it. And they may or may not find it, and they'll have their own trials and tribulations, I think. But you don't want that. You don't want people traveling en masse. That's not good for American women because their value goes down globally, and they're having issues trying to find a good man. If half of them go off to other places, they're gonna have no chance. They'll be forced to be single forever. A lot of them may decide to bat for the other team. We're seeing a lot of gender fluidity, sexual fluidity too,
Right.
because they're like, well, this guy isn't available. Well, let me go over here and see what she's up to. And, hey, if that's your true identity, fantastic, more power to you. But if you're doing it out of necessity, that's not good for America as a country.
But this being allowed, and it's been the last 50 years, this has all just started to make changes where, you know, we've heard everything about when it comes to, what is it, ESP or DEI and all these different lettered ideas where politics and global thinking comes into play. That's, not what the rest of the world is actually, subscribing to anyway. But America, if they can start anything in America, then they can just have it spread out to other parts of the world. That's how it always starts. This is always the first starting point. So, and you've gone through, when it comes through everything you've gone through, working on geopolitics, being a columnist, working with the Omnia Institute, doing media, in various forms, and also just working in the financial sector as well, advising technology companies, all this different experience. What was it about the podcast idea that says for you that you wanted to go ahead and put this out there and really to have these connections to all the people that you've had made connections with? And why was this the best form for you to go ahead and put all that you've been working on together into this one place?
Oh yeah, this that's like this. I think that's twofold. One is I can have these deep, nuanced, interesting, fascinating conversations with, thought leaders and interesting people in various industries. And we can do it today. Maybe 20 years ago, we didn't have the technology or the sort of the desire to do that. But today, this is maybe the only good thing that came out of COVID was we
Right.
went online. We had a whole digital life almost
Mm-hmm.
identity, and that it's good. The after effects of that actually is good because we kept that. We're having this amazing exchange now on
Right.
Zoom, which is great. So the ability to do that, I think lots of people are having amazing conversations. I know that with my experience and my unique perspective on things, my voice, my lens is something that a lot of people would connect with. People who already see it that way would like to hear or be it's just confirmation in a way. But then there are people who this might be foreign to them. It's a new way of thinking about the world. It's fascinating when I speak to Americans about geopolitics and foreign policy. They have a very, very different view of it. And when you speak, I travel all around the world, and when you speak to people, especially in the global South, who are actually very political savvy, they know about everything that's going on with the American elections and with the
Right.
American politics. They're following it actually more closely than Americans would follow their own politics. And it's amazing because I think Americans are very insulated. They don't travel that much. So they don't realize this big world out there that's ancient, that's been around for thousands of years,
Right.
that has so much to offer. And I think the Americans that do travel, they're incredible because, Americans are just genuinely so warm,
Mm-hmm.
friendly, gregarious, inclusive. you don't find that. That's a rare trait. When I come across Americans on my travels, I'm so happy because they're just easy to talk to, and you can just go up to them and start a conversation. You can't do that with most people.
Right.
So they have all of that going for them. I think they just need to expand their mind. But I think the podcast space is good for people like myself, and also to connect with a global audience, because I see myself as a global citizen, and I think what I'm saying, people from everywhere could have a view on it, and could uh, could connect with it. And I want to do much more. So the plan this year is to take it next level. And why not? I don't see too many. I mean, you see a lot of women doing, they have channels and they have platforms with very female things, makeup or food
Sure.
or all that. But I don't see too many women in a more universal, like global space where you do talk about the kind of things that I talk about.
Hmm.
It's really rare. So, but it's good though. I don't see that as it's not a deterrent. In
No.
fact, it's very motivating for me to make my mark in that interesting sort of niche.
I mean, I love all the
So,
voices we hear now anyway, the chance that podcasting gives for us to have all the different voices. For yourself, Preity, is that you have a wide worldview. The media here in America, they've done a disservice over the last few decades because, well, listen, they would do whatever they can to make money. They can't make money now in the current environment because the internet has basically disrupted them to the point where they can't find advertisers. Now that's on them because they also decided as big corporate companies that, deregulated themselves and decided to buy each other, to buy each other, to buy each other. Now they just decide that this corporate playbook they go by to continue to downsize and micromanage. Once they have the people that they had when they bought said company, the people that made that publication possible, made that brand possible, they decide to throw them by the wayside. And then they say, well, we're going to only focus on certain things. And, the wide worldview that we have for America, what do we have about America? That's anything about the world. We hear about Gaza, Ukraine, and Haiti. That's pretty much it. And Israel.
and Haiti,
Nothing
not so
else.
much. Really, it's what's going on in Middle East and the Ukraine propaganda. So that's
But
it.
that's
Yeah.
all they talk about. Like, I mean, even BBC can't even give me enough where I want to learn about the rest of the world. Where's the coverage of the rest of the world? And then on top of that, the news publications, they're now upset at the fact that, well, they can't make any money, so they're upset at Google and Meta. Oh, we want you to start paying us, Australia. Oh, nobody wants to talk about the fact that Australia gets them to pay, Google or whatever, $140 million a year. Oh, because you took our advertising from us because you get to use our publications, our stories in your search results. No, they're promoting you. They're promoting you, and you're just wanting a handout. That's what you're asking for. And even the government here in America, there's a bipartisan bill. California tried to put a bill. You know what Google said? Middle finger. That's what they're going to do. You're not going to play that game. And the media doesn't realize, they're doing a disservice by not giving a wide world view, a wide world perspective. And, if they showed how much happier people are in other parts of the world,
Yeah.
and honestly, let's just say this too, in some places where there's not that much of an income, they might be living
Yes.
in poverty, but love conquers all.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. I'm like, and that's what fascinates me. Like, I mean, I want to travel just for that. Like, even for me, it's not even so much going to attractions. I want to be among the people, live among the
Yes.
locals, because
Yeah.
it's fascinating people everywhere else. And
I mean,
yeah,
that's why traveling is so good. Asia is great for that. I think people all across, they may not have much, but they always smiling. They're very kind.
yeah,
They're generous. They're helpful. They go out of their way to help you, and they love foreigners. They love Americans.
right.
When people come in, they want to show their best, and it's genuine, and they don't want anything from you. And that's a beautiful thing. And I hope, uh, e- and even parts of, I mean, Northern Africa can be very nice that way. Middle East used to be very nice to travel, very, very warm people and
Uh-huh.
stuff. And then Europe, of course, the old world, you marvel at the fact that they enjoy life. I have to say, I'm about to go to south of France for a bit, and you
Uh-huh.
can criticize France for a lot of things, but you can't criticize them on how much they enjoy good food, good wine,
Right.
the human connection, and they have this such a delicious take on living. which is
Yeah.
so incredible. And when you're there, you immerse yourself. And then when you come back, you realize what we really need is balance. Because you obviously you need the means to support that,
Yeah.
but you shouldn't be, sort of living to work. It should be a perfect balance between enjoying life and, of course, working hard and doing well for yourself, being abundant and prosperous, but
Right.
then using that to actually enjoy and eat well and be with good people. Or else, you know what, you may make a lot of money, but you will die sick and lonely and unhappy,
Right.
which is the case for a lot of mega wealthy people in the West.
Exactly. I'm out of time here, but I want to go ahead and, really, Preity, thank you so much for being on with us. There's so much we can promote in terms of what you're doing, and we'll start off first with the YouTube channel, the Preityverse. So that's, again, it's Preityverse, and you can find Preity on X, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just do a search for on X. It's at Preity Upala, PreityUpala _ and then you can also find on Instagram as well. You got almost nearly 100,000 followers there. It's wonderful. And, I'm glad that you're on here, and that you, not only is the fact that, you get to talk to all these people that you connect with and that you get to connect with on a regular basis, but also the fact that you also can give your own personal account and the experience you've gone through and what you can tell. And I think it's most important for podcasters to know that, remember, it's not just where you have shows that are just guest driven. It's also about what is it that you bring as a host to the process as well. And that there's a lot that people want to be able to hear from you as well, in like mind with the guests that you're with, so that you're not, it's nice to have that equal conversation, that back to back, just a chat. And I think we had that here, and I really appreciate you taking time out to talk to me, Preity. Really, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you. It's a wonderful pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much for your generosity, and I hope to be back on your show again soon. I wish all of your audience a great rest of the year, a safe one, and make it joyful.
Thank you. Namaste. Thank you so much. And let's definitely talk again about another future appearance. We'll go ahead and figure out how we're going to do that. But again, Preity Upala from the Preity Experience. Thank you for being here on Podcasters Road. Thank you, listeners, for listening in. We'll talk to you next time.